Committee. And so you were asking, and what that means is, when you're first elected, you go where they tell you to go, and this is where I was told to go. So, but it's a good group. But when you ask how many people, as I said, they don't complain to the Environmental Advisory Committee. They would complain to their commissioners. When I went door to door, when I was running for office, I heard it from a lot of, how many? Excuse me, I'm answering his question. I'm answering his question. He said, how many have complained? I can't tell you how many have complained. Let me finish. That's what I represent.
The third ward, I would say 85% of the third ward has landscapers coming.
And I'm one of them. I'm here as the liaison for the, okay. And so what I'm saying to you,
Your ward has landscapers.
it could be 90, it could be 99%.
I would say almost 95%.
I don't, and I'm one of them. My point is, when you ask me how many have complained, they don't complain to, just explaining the process to you. They don't complain to Mr. Burnham, they complain to the commissioners. It is something that people have complained about. Generally, people who have children who are napping, or older parents who are sick. This is how it has come up. Now, that's just coincidental. The Environmental Advisory Committee has been working on this. The reason we have a town hall, understand this, is to hear what you think about it. And as I said, I've gotten everything from hallelujah to what the hell do you think you're doing? I've gotten everything, whole gamut. But that's the point, really, or the part of the point of having this is, if we are going to have an ordinance that phases out gas leaf blowers, I wanted to have a town hall to hear people's opinions. That's the point of it. And I hope, because this has always been, for me personally, to engender neighborliness. So I hope that we treat each other, no matter what your opinion is, with respect and listen. And to listen to Mr. Burnham, he's done a lot of work. It doesn't mean he's right. I will tell you personally, when I was not on the board then, when the plastic bag ban came out, I was like, oh, that's so freaking inconvenient for me. I hate this thing. I was wrong. It's a great thing. I was wrong. I know the Environmental Advisory Committee, they did it, they voted for it. I was totally wrong. That it was I'm not wrong, that's an inconvenience. It still is, because I always forget my bags. But I was wrong because of all the advantages of it, especially in our recycling program. When it gets to the place in Chester that does it, the bags would get caught and they'd have to stop. It's a whole deal, nonetheless. So I had to rethink about it and what was good for not only me, but was good for my neighbors and for the township. This is around the same ideas. Now, this has a more, people can get hit immediately with expenses. That's why we're here to talk about it. I'm not pretending that I know everything, anything, all of it, none of it, some of it. I really want to hear what you have to say. So I can go back to the board and say, okay, this is what people are saying. This is what they've written to me about. This is what they've said at the meetings. And so please, just the whole point is, because the gas leaf blowers, in addition to being unhealthy, and they are, that you just can't deny, we're running around those things and there's smoke, but no matter what, any kind of mechanized engine or any kind of gas is that way. It's whether or not we regulate them. That's the issue, okay? But just to be neighborly. The ideal with this would not even be an issue, because people would say, listen, this is when I do my work. I'm working from home. Could you not do it then? At 7 o'clock last night, one of my neighbors had their gas leaf blower out, or their yard service did. I was like, whoa. Nonetheless, it's not a question to answer yet. I'm just here to introduce and why we're doing this, okay? So the Environmental Advisory Committee has done a study, or done a lot of work on this. I'd like you to be polite, because already it's kind of like a fisticuffs, as they say, or a verbal one anyway. Listen to what Mr. Burnham has to say. There will be, after that, time for public comment. Just please be respectful, and if there are questions that we can answer, especially for the process I could answer, I can't say that Mr. Burnham can answer, but I can. Other scientific things, he can answer, I probably cannot. Yes, sir.
This is not related. I often come to the meetings, but a lot of times I watch it on the YouTube channel.
Okay.
You gotta do something about the volume, because either people aren't talking into the microphone, or, because I have to have my volume.
Okay.
It goes from 1 to 100, and I'm usually about 15. I have to have it at 99.
Oftentimes people, yeah, like just right now, oftentimes people don't speak into the mic, and so we always have to remind them. But thank you for that. We'll see if we can do something about that.
100% of the time,
Okay. No matter who's speaking.
no matter who's speaking.
Okay.
Yeah, or what.
Okay. I didn't know that. All right. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr.
Fitzpatrick.
That's right, Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Gotta give my name.
Aye, that or Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Good or bad, you gotta give my name.
I know Burke Fitzpatrick. There we go. Okay. All right. Turn this off somehow. Let me just turn this on for a second, just so we can introduce officially, I guess, Dan Burnham. He's the chair of the Environmental Advisory Committee. That's an advisory committee to the Board of Commissioners. I'm Kathy Agnew, the commissioner for the 3rd Ward. There's Jim Riley, the president of the Board of Commissioners, and Maggie Myers, the vice president of the Board of Commissioners. So don't yell at just me. They're over there. I'm kidding. Okay. Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you, Commissioner Agnew. The idea of phasing out gas leaf blowers is not unique to our township. The concern about extreme air pollution and noise posed by these machines has existed for decades and has resulted in restrictions and total bans in over 100 municipalities nationwide. Examples are Montclair, Millburn, Princeton, and Maplewood, New Jersey. These are towns that have very similar landscapes and natural environment as ours. And more recently, Lower Merion, our neighbor to the east, was the first township in Pennsylvania to pass a phased-in gas leaf blower ban. Now, there's 2 things I want to emphasize up front, and you probably heard them already. Personally, I do not wish to follow up this gas leaf blower ban with an additional ban on any other lawn equipment, gasoline-powered lawn equipment. I am a realist. I realize that these machines, the 4-cycle gas engines, are efficient and relative to the gas leaf blower are far cleaner and quieter. Also, I've owned a gas leaf blower for 40 years. I've owned 2 of them. They've lasted that long. I love it. I love it. It makes my work really efficient. The problem is, a year and a half ago, I found out the health consequences of operating this machine, not only for myself, especially for myself, but also my community. And I will share those reasons with you shortly. Now, I've produced a proposal here, fully documented, that I'd be more than happy to share with you by email, if you can give me your email address. So if you doubt or question whatever I'm saying, I can send this to you. Because I understand a lot of you have economic and business investment in gas leaf blowers, and I understand that this is not a ban you support. So I wish to hear from you and hopefully make my point more documented to you than what I can do today. So what are the machines I'm talking about? Well, these are the two machines. I'm not here picking on still, but they had the best pictures on the internet. Handheld and backpack gas leaf blowers. Most of these machines that you hear in our neighborhood by far are two-stroke engines. And this is the problem, because the two-stroke engine is a dirty, noisy engine. More than a four-cycle engine which powers our lawnmowers, our tractors, our automobiles. The wind generated by these gas leaf blowers can be up to over 200 miles an hour. That's the top end of an EF tornado, the low end of an EF5 tornado. So these machines have to generate a high rotational speed, up to 9,000 RPM. Your automobile cruises at less than 3,000 RPM. So this is 3 times faster operation than a four-cycle engine. And this is part of the problem. The faster you go, the noisier you're going to get. So how are they being used in our neighborhoods? Well, as you know, the heaviest use is in the spring and fall for collecting leaves and debris for being carried away from our properties. The lightest use is about now, spring going into summer. They're used for clearing lawn clippings and light debris from sidewalks and driveways. And in the winter, gas leaf blowers are used to remove light snow. I used to do that when we had drier snow from my sidewalk. They're also used to clear snow from street lights. Backpack gas leaf blowers are widely used by commercial landscaping companies. And again, the reason is they've got a big job to do. You know that. So they need the most powerful engines. But why phase out these machines? Well, a four-cycle engine poses a disproportionately greater health risk than any other gas-powered engine. The air pollution of a two-cycle engine stems from the fact that only 70% of the gas-oil mixture is combusted. The 30% is partially or not combusted at all. So what is coming out in the exhaust is particulate matter, volatile organic chemicals, and nitrogen oxides. These are all chemicals that a catalytic converter in our car works very hard to remove from the air, and that's why our cars run clean. And also even a diesel engine. A diesel truck has, I don't know the proper word, scrubbers, I guess, for removing the particulate matter from its exhaust, and they got to be replaced all the time. But there's no such scrubber on a two-cycle engine in a leaf blower. Whoops. The pollution generated by a two-cycle engine is thus almost 4 times that of a commercial lawnmower. This has been measured. I can send you the references. 15 times more pollution than your passenger automobile. Again, because of a catalytic converter has been added. And it's because of four-cycle engine. Also because of that high rotational speed, these machines have a high decibel noise level that you will see approaches ear-splitting dangerous levels. They are 2 to 4-fold louder than a riding gasoline lawnmower. And this is one reason why I don't have a problem with gasoline 4-cycle lawn equipment. I grew up with lawnmowers. They make me feel good. It reminds me of my brother when he was out mowing the lawn when I was too young to do it. But leaf blower, no. No, it makes me grit my teeth, but that's my personal opinion. So, what I'm proposing for you is that we can do something to make our neighborhoods quieter and the air appreciably cleaner, especially the air where the leaf blower is operating, which is in our neighborhoods right near our homes, and for the poor operator who may be using it as part of his job. So let's look at these pollutants. Fine particulate matter is well known to be a leading health risk factor. This has been established by the Global Burden of Disease Project, which was performed at the University of Washington in 2021. And the reason is, fine particulate matter, you can't see it. The particles are so small, they can pass deep into the lungs. But they act like little magnets, just like charcoal is used to attract organic substances in your aquarium, in our water systems. And it carries these toxic substances such as heavy metals, VOCs, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons into our bloodstream. So it's happening to us right now. Now, I understand that, well, maybe the level of fine particulates that we're breathing right now, or even near a gas leaf blower, may not be going to shorten my life. Well, I'm going to look that up for you. And again, anyone who wants to know how I answer that question, give me your email address, because this is a critical question. I agree with you. Short-term exposure. Again, these are studies not on gas leaf blowers, but this is probably done on the poor individuals living in the inner city, exposed to uncombusted or partially combusted diesel and gasoline exhaust. In short-term exposure, these individuals suffer acute and chronic bronchitis, asthma attacks, hospital admissions in infants and children, and older adults with pre-existing heart or lung disease. Again, I can send you the references, or I can send you this. Long-term exposure. Again, we live in a fairly clean environment here, I agree. But what is the long-term exposure to the particulate matter that gas leaf blowers would be emitting, especially for an operator? He's exposed to them 5 days a week, high concentrations. He's right there. We should do a study on operators of gas leaf blowers. Prove me wrong. But I tell you, they're exposed to very high levels. I haven't even gotten to the noise level. Recently, fine particulate matter has been shown to be a neurotoxin by Dr. Edward Lee at the University of Pennsylvania. Again, this is something I didn't know. And again, at what level? But you can imagine something this fine carrying all kinds of crap into your lungs is going to have some effect on you. And the neural system is very sensitive. Two-stroke engines, okay. Do they really make a difference in terms of contributing to fine particulate matter? Well, I admit, against the backdrop of what we're dealing with in this county as it is, you wonder if they make a big difference, because we got a hell of a lot of fine particulate matter that we're breathing in this county. In 2025, Delaware County was the second highest in daily average fine particulate concentration amongst all Pennsylvania counties. Well, you'll say, oh yeah, that's down by Chester. It doesn't affect us. Well, the wind blows, folks. This is a study, again, done by the University of Wisconsin Population Health Institute. So again, I can share that information with you. In 2020, two-stroke engines produced half of the fine particulate matter from all gasoline-powered vehicles and equipment in Delaware County. Now, wow, how the heck was that determined? Well, you can ask that, and I would be curious too. But it seems reasonable when you consider the next point. Two-stroke engines emitted 85% of fine particulate matter emitted by all gas-powered lawn and garden equipment in the US. Again, four-cycle engines are not emitting fine particulate matter at the level. It's almost 1/4 of the level of a gas leaf blower. And this is EPA data, these last 2 points. So if you trust EPA data, again, I can send you how it was done. What about volatile organic chemicals and nitrogen oxides? Well, we know that you mix the two together with sunlight, you get ground level ozone. Oh, ozone's good. Well, it is good, but it's got to be up in the stratosphere, protecting us from UV rays. You don't want it down here. Ozone is an oxidizing agent. It attacks the lung tissue and leads to pulmonary inflammation, leading to shortness of breath, respiratory infections, aggravates lung disease, premature death, and lower birth weight and lung function in newborns. Again, this is from poor individuals who are exposed to inner city air. I can guarantee you that's where that information is coming from. But I'll bring you back to the operator of a gas leaf blower and to the woman or man in his house has the windows open while a gas leaf blower is blowing around his house. He's not going to be breathing the same clean air that he was breathing before that leaf blower was turned on. Volatile organic compounds are well-known carcinogens. Can't argue with that. Leaf blower noise. Okay, they're loud, but how loud? Well, you can use a decibel meter and hold it up next to a leaf blower and find it comes up to 100 and 110 decibels. This is the same as a jet taking off or a jackhammer, operating a jackhammer. If you don't have ear protection and you have experienced that long enough, you're going to have permanent hearing loss. I'm a woodworker. I've lost my high frequency acuity because I don't wear ear protection when I work my circular saw. So that's a personal example of that happening. 50 to 100 feet from the gas leaf blower, the decibel level goes down about to 86 to 83 decibels. But this is still to 5 to 8-fold louder than the maximum WHO recommended daytime outdoor noise level. Me speaking to you, maybe loudly, is maybe around 70 decibels. But a gas leaf blower, this is a logarithmic scale, will be operating 2 to 4 times louder than my voice right now at 50 to 100 feet. Again, the health effects of gas leaf blower noise has not been studied, admittedly, but there has been studies of chronic exposure to traffic noise, 60 to 90 decibels, within the range of someone being within 100 feet or a little farther from a gas leaf blower, chronically. What do they find? Aggravation of heart disease, obesity, diabetes, reproductive issues, worsened mental health conditions, impaired child language acquisition, reading comprehension, and cognitive development. Okay, so what relevance does that have to a Radnor community? Well, no, we don't have chronic leaf blowers yet. But I'll tell you, folks, come the fall, they don't stop in my neighborhood. All my neighbors have a landscaper. They do a beautiful job. The thing is, I hear them 3 out of 5 days a week, all day long. Gas leaf blower, the low frequency component is notoriously able to pass through walls and over a long distance. In fact, the study was done showing that 90 suburban homes surrounding the operation of 2 gas leaf blowers would be seriously impacted. They would be exposed to decibel levels that are considered unhealthy. Why 2? Well, 2 gas leaf blowers often is what I experience on the same property.
Are you talking about 2-cycle leaf blowers or 4-cycle?
2 2-cycle. At least they sound alike, and I know one of them's 2-cycle.
2-cycle, there's 2-cycle and 4-cycle leaf blowers.
Right.
So which ones are you talking about?
I know the one I saw they're 2-cycle. They're
Talking about backpacks.
backpack 2 cycles.
Talking about gas and oil mix.
Yes. Yeah. I'd want to know more about 4-cycle gas blowers.
Well, 4-cycle were out before the 2-cycle.
Right, but how widely are they used?
Township uses them.
Well, this is something that
Yes, backpacking blowers.
this is something that is up for the township to decide. As you will see, let me finish. Let me finish. This is where the township will need to decide which leaf blower is to be considered. Okay? So the phase out I'm proposing is based on Lower Merion. Why do I base it on Lower Merion? Because you want not to cause confusion across township lines as to what is legal and not by township ordinance. So the seasonal ban would be phase 1. It would take place during the summer and winter over 3 years. The first 2 years would be from June through October and January through March. And then in the 3rd year, these 2 periods would be joined to form a January 1st to October 1st ban on gas leaf blowers. Daytime hours of gas leaf blower use in the spring and fall would be restricted during this time. so as to limit the annoyance in the beginning and end of the day. After 3 years, a year-round total ban would be instituted. Now, this is the question. Should this be all 2- and 4-stroke gas leaf blowers? Well, give me the evidence why a 4-stroke gas leaf blower should not be allowed. How does it stack up against a 2-cycle leaf blower? They're still pretty noisy. And admittedly, a 4-stroke will burn cleaner. So this is something that should be considered. I personally would prefer a ban on both 2- and 4-cycle gas leaf blowers. Now, Burke said, well, what about the turbine blowers, buffalo blowers, pull-behind blowers? I don't know, because I understand they're used where you have large tracts of land, and it takes a heck of a long time to pick up leaves on that property, and I understand that. So that is something else that could be discussed. And I would actually ask all of you here to come up with a representative to work with the township. If you're serious about making your issues known, prepare something that I've prepared as a counter-argument. Okay? You can talk about everything from civil rights or personal rights to environmental impact or not. Okay?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
On the 4-stroke blower, you're against it, but you're okay with the 4-stroke lawnmower.
4-stroke,
So you're actually, going against what you're saying.
Arbitrary and capricious. Go ahead.
So you're saying 4-stroke lawnmowers are all right, which they all are, but a 4-stroke blower is not feasible.
I just said, yes, you caught me there. Okay? But all I'm saying is what has been instituted in Lower Merion. This, again, is patterned after Lower Merion.
Why Lower Merion? What do we care about Lower Merion?
Again, because they succeeded. And secondly, because there is a uniformity of ordinance across township lines. Yes.
Hello, hi, hold on. I think we're, Dan, are you done your presentation?
No,
It seems-
no,
All
I'm
right.
not.
So,
Wait, may I ask a question, please? 'Cause other people-
Yes.
okay,
Yes,
people-
I'd like to.
just this once and then let him finish.
I don't care
Excuse me,
comments as
Dan,
long as they're short.
Dan,
Yeah.
you will finish, then we will have you can ask your questions or make
All
your
right, the
comments.
point
Just
that
want to
got-
be orderly.
The
okay?
point that got made over there is I'm not disputing any of your facts. Facts can be made to work any way you want. You've made the point on 4-stroke my lawnmower, 2-stroke, or whether or not I have. I've been doing a push one for 40 years, have an 1.25 acre property. It's a serious garden that's seen by botanical people from all over the world. I can't just have landscapers come in and do it. But you're talking about several different points overlapping. You talk health issues. You can wear a mask. Yes, it will go a certain distance. Yes, it is 15 times worse than a car, but you're not running the car next to the window for an hour to make up the difference. My other problem is on the problem with the sound. Yes, I wear headphones. You can wear headphones. The main concern about this nationally is the damage to people's ears. What has not been shown up there, what's the decimal level of using an electric one or an LED-powered battery one that is telling you it is blowing at 250 miles per hour and has the same amount of force as a 2-stroke that you're holding in your hand? You're not showing comparisons of saying the sound is a problem for the baby sleeping, but it's okay to use an LED one and potentially have some idiot leave it plugged in over the weekend in their garage and burn the garage down. So you're looking at points that counteract other things you're saying. As the gentleman pointed out, we're okay with a 4-stroke lawnmower, but not with a 4-stroke leaf blower. And also, not everybody in this township uses landscapers. And to define it that we have hours restricted in the morning and evening, or potentially then weekends, means anybody that works and takes care of their own property isn't going to be able to come home and take care of their own property. They're going to have to incur the cost now of hiring a landscaper. I'd like to see some consistency.
Okay. You made a lot of points there. Protecting yourself from a gas leaf blower with earphones is certainly advisable. The problem is you're not protecting your neighbors from that noise. And an electric leaf blower ranks around 60 to 80 decibels compared to a gasoline leaf blower, which will be
About the LED handheld one, which is a higher RPM, a higher power than the electric, and has a higher noise thing. You can't be saying we're worried about the baby sleeping with this, but we're not worried about the baby sleeping with something else.
My understanding is that electric leaf blowers
Sorry,
are,
I'm here to hear a dialogue between two people.
right.
We'll get the presentation finished, and then I assume they're going to open it up for questions and comments.
Well, we've already had plenty of comments. Thank you. This ban would also apply to all township sectors. Okay, so we're not singling out one sector like the commercial sector. What is the rationale? Well, the seasonal ban minimizes the operational and financial impact, especially for commercial operators. This would be a 3-year period in which, during the summer and winter, when you have lightest demand for using a blower, there are alternatives for removing grass clippings from the sidewalks and other paved surfaces, like rakes and light debris with brooms, and electric leaf blowers themselves, again for this light-duty work. Also, the summer would be a lot quieter. Our neighborhoods would be a lot quieter. With a full year ban, there are alternatives for fall leaf cleanup. Until 40 years ago, some of you know, were there, like me, who raked their yards. Good. Let's get out there and rake our own yards when we can. Good. More recently, these natural methods are for mulch mowing leaves. It's been found that it will not smother your lawn if you mulch mow. And what I've done is continue my regular weekly mowing deep into the fall. As the leaves fall, I continue to mow over and over and over again. Any rills that form of leaf debris, I just mow it and disperse it. And those leaf clippings or shreds go into the lawn to feed the turf. Some people are advocating leave the leaves. In fact, the Department of Agriculture in 2022 came out advocating mulching leaves and leaving the leaves. Again, because they create a natural mulch that helps to suppress weeds and fertilizes the soil over the fall and winter. These are labor-saving suggestions. You wouldn't need to pick up the leaves and move them. And this would be a reduced cost, at least for the municipality. They wouldn't be having to pick up leaves in the street anymore. The leaves would stay where they can offer benefit to the resident. You wouldn't have to get the Radnor mulch, which I love. I love Radnor mulch. I use it all the time. You wouldn't have to go pick it up. Electric leaf blowers, they're another option. For the resident, they might work, especially for a resident with a half to a 1 acre lot, where they have the time to use it. However, for a large tracts of land and for moving a lot of leaves that a commercial landscaper deals with, I agree, they are problematic. Okay? So what I'm saying here, there are alternatives to blowing leaves as the major way to manage leaves in the fall. So the arguments, raking is less efficient. Well, I agree, on a large tract of land, I bet a leaf blower could pick up those leaves a lot faster than a rake. However, on a small tract of land where you want to get in with nooks and crannies, a person with a rake versus one person with a leaf blower, I think would be quite a comparable time scale for collecting the leaves. In fact, this was demonstrated by a grandmother in New England several years ago, but we won't bring that up. Natural methods don't leave a clean lawn. Well, no, leaving the leaves doesn't leave a clean lawn. If your client or your individual doesn't appeal to that, mulching the leaves again repeatedly as you go through the fall will leave a clean lawn. I've demonstrated this now for 2 autumns in my own yard with my lawnmower. Electric leaf blowers, again, I don't know if they're up to the job beyond that of a resident. And I'm not recommending that you are all to consider electric leaf blowers as an alternative to gas leaf blowers as the principal way to manage leaves. I understand for these reasons outlined here. They may not be powerful enough. The battery runtime and charging time will impede your efficiency. And the upfront costs, which I will detail, which you probably all already calculated, for allowing the leaf blower to run continuously with remote charging and multiple batteries will be onerous for many landscaping companies, and they will be unable to absorb those costs and hesitant to pass those costs on to their customers. But electric leaf blowers in and of themselves are an advance over the gasoline-powered leaf blower, again, when you consider the amount of work done. There's been accusation that the fossil fuel power used to power the leaf blower through electricity is akin, in terms of pollution, to that of gasoline. But a study has done where taking a mix of fossil fuel and renewable energy, electricity in a township like we have here, which is about 60% fossil fuel and 40% renewable, that the amount of CO2 emitted to charge a lawnmower is about 50% that of an electric lawnmower is 50% less than that of a gasoline operated mower. That was a study done by the Energy Sense Resilience Center. Also, the pollution from battery disposal, I agree. We're not disposing of our batteries properly. We're not allowing them to be recycled. There's multiple types of lithium-ion batteries, and there's no uniform way to, via machines, to recycle them. We've got to get this right. They have precious metals that this country needs to reclaim. So I agree with you. But there is legislation put before the U.S. Congress and the Pennsylvania legislature that is addressing this. So the total cost of upfront electric leaf blower operation. So if you purchase a commercial backpack electric leaf blower, they're about really good quality ones, $1,100. That's without the battery. If you purchase 5 lithium batteries to supplement it, that's about $2,500. I'm talking about the still, actually, model. I can give you the exact model I'm talking about. For a charging station, $3,000 to $7,500. So the total cost for just setting up your electric leaf blower so it can operate continuously during a workday ranges from $6,600 to $1,100. Excuse me, $11,000. Thank you. Don't want to lowball it. On top of that, you have the cost of replacing the batteries. They only last generally 300 to 800 charge cycles. Some newer ones can last longer. Well, let's go with that. So maybe these batteries will last a year. So after that year, you're going to have to pay to replace them. You've heard that. Yeah. So I'm talking about a commercial operator that operates their electric leaf blower or gas leaf blower 150 days, service days a year. And what do they find out their operating costs are? Well, I estimated it here. For a backpack electric leaf blower, just for charging it during that year is $122. That's at 20 cents a kilowatt hour. And that's for a 0.68 kilowatt hours per charge. So that's a good size backpack leaf blower. The gas power leaf blower comes in at over $1,500 a year in operating costs. That's principally from gasoline. Well, look at the numbers. You bring it up. The assumption is it will not require maintenance.
So maybe you can just throw it out after a year?
So,
Can you please wait till he's done? Okay? Just let it be orderly, okay?
so this is something that will partially offset the initial upfront costs of operating a gas leaf blower. And this is why I agree with you. They may not be a viable option. But I'm asking you to consider the natural methods. Mulch mowing. Have you tried it? Who has done it? All right. I'd like to hear from one of you. Well, I can't hear
It's
from all of
done.
you.
After you're
But-
done,
After I'm
do
done,
this.
please, I'd like to hear what the problems are with that. But yes, I'm ready for questions. So let's first ask please answer the problem with mulch mowing.
All right. Rules of the township. To give your name, where you're located, because this is really for township residents, okay? So I don't know whichever order you want to go, but say, John Smith, Jane Smith,
The
Midland.
man in the
Okay.
blue, the blazer, please.
Hi, I'm Ken Alfiandro. I live on Woodley Road, right near Roberts Road. Some of you might know my area. This is one that goes like this. My house is on a slope, 45 degrees.
So you can be recorded.
If I use mulching, by the way you describe it, I would have to mulch my forest. I've got 50 trees on my property. The township loves, because I have great birds and I have predators that eat mice and rats, I would have to chop them down to get to the mulching that you talk about. I have enough leaves, when I blow all the leaves down to the curb, that it would equal about 10 cars. I used to do the raking and I used to do the electric blower, and it would take me 10 days to rake my leaves. My neighbors are here, they know, because they've seen me do it. It now takes me 4 hours with a gas power. So your mulching won't work, especially on a 45-degree angle. We don't all live on little postage stamp lots that are flat. We live in an area which has hills and difficult terrain. If I were to mulch on a 45-degree angle, I'd probably lose a foot.
Okay, is this lawn that you have under the trees?
There's lawn in front of the house and on the down to the street. If you drive past it, you can see.
So there's lawn under the trees?
There's lawn under trees. There's lawn out in the open. It's a large piece of land. It's 1.4 acres, and I keep it in a certain condition because it is the first thing you see as you come into the community. I don't have the option, since it's at a 45-degree angle, it's on a showcase. You would come up and you would see a complete mess. And let me tell you this, I live in an area where people love to drive by. If I were to keep it mulched and leave leaves all over the place and let the underbrush grow there, people throw trash. I get trash that you wouldn't believe. People throwing beer cans, fast food items. I've had paint buckets of paint, 20 of them, left in the forest. That's what people do when they see an unkept forest, a mulched forest. They think it's a junk spot. I clean it up every week. I've even had a bottle of urine left. I can't leave it a mess because then they think it's township property and it's a free-for-all. That's why we keep our properties clean.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Paul Wissel and my wife Deb Wissel, we're at 214 St. David's Court. Bought the house about 25 years ago. When we bought it, it had an oil-burning furnace, had 2 big oil tanks in the basement. My wife looked into geothermal, and that's what we have now. She took the initiative, we switched to geothermal. My point for you is, before phase out and ban, just try education. Radnor people want to do the right thing, they learn. So instead of having a ban or an ordinance, you really should consider telling us over the next few years why taking out the gasoline-powered glass blowers should be done. We found education was useful. But the other one is even more serious. You talked about different health concerns about workers who use the blowers, and you brought up almost everything I've ever treated for a patient. But you didn't mention the OSHA study from 2025, where they actually looked at landscape workers that use these things, they followed them, they publish it, and they have conclusions. You left that entirely out. So you listed all of your opinions of what things may befall workers or us. I use a leaf blower 3 times a year. I use my chainsaw more frequently than that. But you didn't mention the OSHA study. It's a very good study. You could have just mentioned the conclusions from that study. I think the audience here would have liked to know what the conclusions of the OSHA study was. This is a federal government. I think that should have been part of your presentation as a balance to your opinion of what healthcare concerns are. So I was very disappointed that you represent healthcare concerns anecdotally, but you left out the government publication on that. Who wants it next?
Excuse me, can I have what year that study was done?
March of 2025. Two main conclusions. One is that more research is needed, and the other is that using electric blowers could be more beneficial than the gasoline ones. So it was more research is needed, and electric ones could be more beneficial. And that would be something I think the whole audience. It's a big article, a lot of statistics, so I'm just taking out the conclusion from that article. But that should have been part of your presentation. Leaving that out really has a question about what point you're trying to make among us. Who wants this next?
I'm Burke Fitzpatrick, and I met Dan before I came in here tonight. And yeah, a couple things, a couple anecdotes. Oh, what ward? Ward 6, I guess. 402 Locust Road, Locust and Sugartown. And by the way, I live on a corner, and I have a sycamore tree, and the leaves go in the street, and the cars come down the street, and if the leaves are wet, it's a hazard. Can't rake them when they're wet. You have to blow them. Electric doesn't do it. So a couple anecdotes. Number one, I loved my electric weed whacker. I went to the Home Depot and I purchased an electric backpack leaf blower. Brought it home, turned it on low, nothing. Put it on medium, worked okay. Put it on high, it was awesome. The battery died in 10 minutes. 15 minutes later, I returned the backpack leaf blower. I went and bought a steel, and I don't know anybody in my neighborhood that complains of low birth weights, asthma, dementia, lung cancer, or anything else because I blow my leaf blower. Now, mulching, I mulch all the time, but I clean it up with my leaf blower. I rake. I also pick up my leaves because I live at the bottom of the street. I wouldn't put them in the street and let them blow out in the street and get wet. It's crazy. So the other thing, and I told Dan, when I watched on the YouTube channel his presentation a couple weeks ago or whatever it was, he mentioned a couple studies. One was the Harvard study of 2018, and I looked it up. The Harvard study of 2018 was not about leaf blowers. It was about the effect of wind on the anole lizard and how it could hold on to trees and leaves in high wind. How they got leaf blowers into that discussion, I don't have any idea, but it was not about the noise that affected any humans. It was not about the effect of PF, whatever, M's or 2s or whatever it is, on humans. It was about the effects on the anole lizard.
Burke,
The
I told
WHO
you that that reference was very summary, and you looked and found the wrong reference, okay?
It was the Harvard study in reference to.
Harvard publishes hundreds of studies, you know that.
So I'm not
I can send-
romanticized, I don't romanticize the name Harvard, so,
Well, I'm not either.
and nor do I romanticize Lower Merion. So, again, what is the economic impact to, number one, the service companies that service leaf blowers? This is the other incident that I wanted to bring up. I have a backpack leaf blower that I took in to have serviced, and I found out that the mainline mower sold their business. And I asked Chris, who's still there, I said, why didn't you buy it? He said, well, I saw the writing on the wall. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, you know, they're all banning leaf blowers, and we're going to have to, we can't service the electric ones because they're just throwaways. Can't service them. They go bad after a year or two, and they throw them out. Can't service them. So you have a gas-powered leaf blower that you can service year after year after year after year. The other thing is that I also looked up technology. The new technology, the gas leaf blowers, are less noisy. So again, we don't go across the country in a covered wagon anymore. We take a jet plane. So we have to let technology and innovation take us to the future. Why do we talk about banning? Why don't we talk about innovation? The new technology is going to be better. We're not going to be in a stagecoach going across the country. There's no Pony Express anymore. So time goes on and it gets better. We don't have to be like Lower Merion.
Hi, I'm Chandler Hosmer. I live at 804 Gaylor Road in the township. It's a development called Radnor Shire. There's 75 homes in that development, and each home sits on a minimum of 1 acre lot. My acreage is just over 1 acre, and I have 27 deciduous trees on it. I have tried mulching. I have a backpack, a steel backpack, gas-powered lawn leaf blower, as you mentioned. And having tried the mulching, I can tell you that whether you have 57 trees or you've got 24 trees like I do, it lays down a carpet of leaves that literally smother the lawn. And it's not a solution to the problem, nor is the electric, at least at this point, the electric leaf blower a solution. I actually talked to someone from Stihl, S-T-I-H-L, and they told me that their most powerful electric leaf blower now is a little bit less than half the power of their most powerful gas-powered leaf blower. So for those of us with large lots and a lot of deciduous trees, which I'm sure the Shade Commission would like us to keep instead of cutting them all down, the electric leaf blower is not, at this point, a viable alternative. Perhaps 10 or 15 years from now, maybe 5, it will be. I think another point to be made is these gas-powered leaf blowers are regulated by the EPA and by OSHA. The noise regulations are governed by OSHA, and the pollutants, the emissions, are governed by the EPA. And you made an interesting point, Mr. Burnham. You said that 100 townships or 100 communities in this country have adopted some kind of a ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. But the interesting thing is there's hundreds of thousands of political subdivisions within this country, and the vast majority of them have chosen not to have a ban on leaf blowers, and the most recent of which is the township of Swarthmore in Delaware County, which expressly rejected the ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. The New Jersey legislature considered a ban on them statewide, and that too did not pass. So I think it would behoove Radnor Township to follow the vast majority of political subdivisions within this country rather than the 100 that have passed some sort of a ban, and allow us, that is, to continue to use our gas-powered leaf blowers. I also noted that the EPA says that the contribution of emissions by gas-powered leaf blowers in this country is 0.5%. In other words, there's 99.5% other kinds of machines, cars, and so forth that contribute more than gas-powered leaf blowers do. And if one were to extrapolate backwards, I guess, from that, at 0.5 for the entire nation, if you took the 14 square miles of Radnor and the 33,000 people that live here and work backwards from there, the contribution that the Radnor Township or the Radnor residents make to the burden of air pollution, it would be infinitesimal if you work back from the 0.5 that the EPA told us about. So for those reasons, I think that it's an ill-considered, well-intentioned, hopelessly misguided attempt to relieve a burden of air pollution that it just isn't that bad. And with respect to the noise, again, OSHA regulates the noise that can come from a gas-powered leaf blower, and it's very easy for one neighbor simply to go to another. No one's ever said anything to me when the leaf blowers are going, but just go over to your neighbor and say, well, I've got a sick child, and if I can't close the windows, could you just delay blowing the leaves for a little while? So I think rather than having a problem with a statute or an ordinance for every problem, the easier thing to do is, I think you said earlier, is just be neighborly and respect your neighbors. So, thank you.
If I may just say, hey, I'm all for neighborliness, but aside from that, the general rule for public comment is 5 minutes. Okay,
Oh.
just so we know. So that leaves about another 12 people, unless, if everyone goes to the maximum, just so you know that, okay?
I was an oil, before I
That's all
retired.
right, you said a lot, it was all very important and well
Okay.
laid out, so
Before I
that's fine.
retired, I was a lawyer on an hourly rate, so I can't help myself.
Well, that was, I think you did a point too, so there you go.
Thank you, Chandler. My name's Kent Cadwallader. We live on Newtown Road in Villanova. And in the order of being succinct, I'll hold off on my compliments of you all doing a good job by taking us all in here, so thank you.
Repeat that, you'd say that again.
I wanted to make sure that I presented some facts tonight that everybody probably has in mind, but I call them big jobs, you call them heavy jobs. But when I look at a couple of my notes here, I read that a job done with a battery-operated leaf blower takes more time than a gas-operated leaf blower. This means you will be listening to noise from the battery-operated leaf blower project for a longer period of time, longer than you would from a gas. So if your concern is that you don't like listening to gas, that takes an hour to do the yard. If they have to use electric ones, it's going to take them an hour and a half or 2 hours. So you're going to be listening to more noise through your new backpacks than the old ones. And again, if Radnor Township employees are required to use battery-operated leaf blowers, you will have to pay them for more work time, overtime payments, to complete the job, a job that would have taken less time with a gas-operated leaf blower. The disposal of batteries is a complicated process, and to do it right costs more time and money. Batteries run 18 to 22 minutes per battery, huge cost to acquire. Radnor Township and its residents, which is us, should not have to pay more money, more taxes for the increased cost of battery-operated leaf blower operations, which in summary, take longer to complete the task. All right? Noise lasts longer than gas because they're being used longer to do the same job. Cost more money in labor costs, and since gas blower equipments have already been purchased, there's no expense there. So again, one of your major concerns, and this was from you, not from your committee, was the noise. If you make this go into effect, you're going to be listening to the battery-operated leaf blowers taking longer to do that same project. So in essence, you're making more noise. Who needs this?
Hi, Michael Lake in the Bryn Mawr section of Radnor. I'd like to bring a few points. Not all leaf blowers are created equally. My 18-year-old gas-powered leaf blower is 65 decibels. That's halfway between a conversation between two people and this room in here. I have it outside if you guys want to hear it after this meeting. It is very quiet. My neighbor, however, two doors down the road has an electric blower on a cord, which not only is twice as loud, it's half as powerful. For the same storm cleanup, which do happen sometimes between June and October, he has to run his unit 2 to 3 times as long. Recent PECO information says that PECO gets his energy 40% from natural gas, 40% nuclear, and 15% coal. Electric leaf blowers are more expensive and work half as well. Corded versions are dangerous around pools, fountains, and in the rain. Cordless versions require multiple expensive and toxic lithium-ion batteries which last, if lucky, 30 minutes before needing a 4 to 6 hour recharge and 2 to 3 years before being tossed and purchased again. How do you intend on recycling hundreds of lithium-ion batteries in the township? Who's going to buy residents and landscapers electric blowers? Who's going to purchase back their gas blowers? Who's going to pay the landscapers overtime for having to work twice as long to do the same job? What's next? A ban on gasoline string trimmers, chainsaws, lawnmowers, backup generators, gas stoves? Or perhaps a ban on classic cars like the one Commissioner Mulroney drives. The Wheels of Wayne, by the way, is a fantastic event, but you cannot sponsor it and then cry about air quality from leaf blowers. That's what hypocrites do. You tell us to keep our yards tidy with the weed ordinance and then try and dictate what kind of equipment we are allowed to accomplish it. That's what kings do. Not all blowers are loud, and no electric blower of a Pico customer is green. Thank you.
You know what, this lady over here has been putting her, excuse me,
Sorry.
her hand up.
Hi, Joanne Buna from Oak Lane in North Wayne area. Couple things. One, I think the most important thing is that a line is not drawn in the sand. Like, it doesn't have to, the best thing to do is to have a collaboration and to say, okay, how can we have quiet periods? Like, enforce the, before 7 a.m. or after 7 p.m., don't use your leaf blowers. A few times you mentioned the mulching the leaves, and you said you go back and forth and mow them. Well, that takes a lot of energy and that's a lot of noise. So I don't think that's a solution if it's the noise and the pollution that you're trying to avoid. What else? I live 2 blocks from Lancaster, where probably over 1 million cars pass every day. I live a block from the train station. There's pollution, there's noise. I'm not sure why we're picking on leaf blowers that really, like, in comparison, are, it's just like, from the pollution and the sound and the noise, there's bigger environmental issues. What else? The startup costs. I know many, especially many young teenagers who have landscaping businesses and start. How are they supposed to get $15,000 to start their business? Because really, that's what it'd be, $11,000 plus. They need, after a year, they need to buy new batteries. That's ridiculous. I just think there's a better way about this, and I think just working collaboratively is really what community is about and what Radnor's always been about. And so really, there shouldn't be a line in the sand to ban leaf blowers. Sure.
Hi, I'm Anjana Vidyadharan. I am part of the Radnor EAC. I work with Dan. Just in response to the comments on the mulching that like a few of you raised, from my personal experience, I do mulching, the lawn clippings along with the leaves. That is the best compost you can get. So if you ever want to try that option, it's nitrogen plus carbon, dry leaves plus the grass clippings. If that goes in compost, I grow abundant amount of vegetables in my garden using that. And if you don't grow vegetables, it can be used for your flower beds or under the trees. That's best compost. One of the sustainable options for anybody who's doing on their own and not using the landscapers. Thank you. Who wants to go?
There's a second microphone that started over here. William Martin, 15 Rodney Road. I'm generally in support of the proposal, and my area of concern is noise. The community I am living in and have been living in for 38 years are homes that were built in the early 50s. Built so long ago they don't have a name for the community, just east of Villanova Stadium. And they're small parcels. They're parcels probably 1/6 of an acre. So the result is, with the gas blowers, you can hear a gas blower, I would say 100 to 150 yards away. So that means there's probably about 40 to 50 homes within that radius where, when they're getting landscaping done, we can hear it in our home if our doors are open and our windows are open. So during the peak periods, you're talking about 2 to 3 hours a day, every day. Every day. You can close your door, you can shut your windows, you can wear earplugs, you can put soundproof things in your ears. But I'll point out, if the same neighbor 75 yards away decided to blast music, I would call the police and say to the police, tell them to turn the music down. That's against the township ordinance. It's too loud. And I do understand there are some different equities involved, but I think that the equities of concern for the neighbors and limiting the imposition of noise pollution on the broader community are significant and should be paid significant weight by the decision makers when they're deciding what to do here. Maybe there are other issues such as time limits. I mean, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. is insufficient. I mean, maybe, and I know there's a variety of practicalities, but there are ways that there could be limits for consideration. Also, why I understand this would probably be a political hot button, maybe there are certain wards that should be considered. You know, the 7th ward where I am, there are not many people with huge parcels. It might be a different type of imposition there as opposed to the western end of the county where you have the rolling hills and the 3 and 4 acre parcels where people have some peculiar concerns different than the folks on the other end of the township. I've learned a lot listening to folks' comments here, which I appreciate, but I'm still generally in support.
Hi there, this is Stephen Gucci. I live on 224 Sinkler Drive. And a couple things. I am, first of all, I just want to say right up front, Kathy, I am against moving forward with this. I just want to be very clear. You're going to be able to tell very soon, but I just want to go on record with that. But first, I won't get into all the environmental realities, but it's clear that, you know, I did some research before coming here, and I think the lady in front here mentioned, and I totally agree, yes, you can, there are facts that can go both ways. Okay, so yes, you know, Dan, I believe, you know, you did some due diligence there. I don't doubt that the research that you have is valid, but there's just as valid other data out there. And some of the stuff that I found is that, first of all, EPA standards have shown significantly reduced emissions over the past 20 years with leaf blowers. To someone else's point, technology, it's just going to make it better. You know, so, you know, doing this seems a little premature. And also, many of the alarming stats are based off of outdated engines and worst case assumptions. But with that said, I'll talk more about the noise. Personally, I think this is, and with all due respect to you, sir, I think this noise thing is very pretentious. It really is. I mean, the noise is not bad from these, you know, yes, you know, I live right, you know, down the road here. I do my own lawn, but my neighbors, you know, many of them use this service, and I do hear, you know, them. I hear the leaf blowers. I hear a noise, but it's not a loud, obnoxious noise. You know, you go down Lancaster Avenue, you hear cars, but you're like, yikes, they're cars. You know, it's not, you know, anything that's disturbing my life. You know, I hear, Kathy, you mentioned, and I can just hear all the public comments when this goes in front of the commissioners. You know, oh, it scares my dogs. Please.
Well, that's the
It
first time I've
interrupts
heard
my
that.
yoga.
We'll sell you.
Our nanny tells us it wakes my 3-year-old up from his nap. Well, you know what? I had a kid too, and my kid never got woken up by a leaf blower. If so, you know, he got over it. I've had lots of dogs my whole life living on the main line, and it didn't hurt any of my dogs. And also, you know, some people probably can say, well, I work from home. I got to hear this. I've worked from home since March 13th, 2020. And do you know what? I've never not been able to get my work done. And let me tell you, I have a hard time staying concentrated on things. So, you know, if someone's having a problem like that 1 hour, they need something, they need to be very quiet, well, then move to another room. Go to the basement. Figure something out. Another thing here, and Dan, you didn't talk about this up here, and good, bad, or indifferent, but with the Lower Merion, you know, they talked about enforcement. And it's my understanding from what I read was that it's only enforced by a neighbor coming forward, and like the police, if the police come by and see you using it, they can't do anything. It's a neighbor has to report it. If that's the case, that neighbor should have to live within 2 or 3 doors from you. You know, I don't want someone who lives down on Brookside coming by, they drive by my house and they see me using my leaf blower that would take on a job that takes me 15 minutes, by the way. You know, and then to say, oh, he's making noise and they live over on Brookside. You know, they're not going to hear that. You might hear something, you know, a few, you know, houses away, you know, a block away, you might hear something, but it's not going to be disturbing. I mean, really? Have we gotten that pretentious? And then also, finally, I'm sure my 5 minutes is close to being up. I think this just sets a bad precedent. What's next? Other people have brought this up. And Dan, I know you said, hey, you're not in favor of lawnmowers, snow blowers, and all that stuff. But you say that, but what in a few years? What's it then? And then there was also, you said, hey, it's what is it, the 2 system versus the 4 system? But there are the cycle. There are, I mean, I think my blower, it's a push blower, and it's not the oil gas mixture. It's probably a 4. But also, and you say that lawnmowers are 4s, but I saw the thing up there where you're saying, hey, do you know what? If it's a leaf blower, it's a leaf blower. You know, when is it going to be? In a few years, you get someone who's going to say, you know what? Lawnmowers should be electric. You know, what else? The snow blowers. Oh, snow blowers make a lot of noise, and do you know what? They're out there at 6 a.m. doing their driveway. I mean, do we want to get to that? But that's what this is setting a bad precedent. So, Kathy, as a Ward 3 resident, if this does get to vote, I'm going to ask that you vote no. Please.
Thank you. Well, I think this lady's next. Or, I'm sorry. Did you already go? Oh, go ahead. And then,
First of all, I grew up on South Devon Avenue.
Can I have your name?
Andrew Moshe. Currently, we have a street named after us, Moshe Lane, if any of you've been up by South Devon Park. I have a small business. In 2004, I retired from Radnor Township as a police officer. And at that time, I started a small landscape business. I could tell you that the landscapers are waiting for this to happen. Because the first thing that's going to happen to everybody that has a contractor, it's going to go up $25 to $50 a yard. Guaranteed. It happened in Lower Merion. And many of the people got rid of their contractors hoping to find this. So come fall, the only person that I wouldn't want to be in Radnor Township is a township commissioner.
oh, I actually really love my job, so it's fine.
No, but what I mean is, over the years, I worked here 30 years, and when it came to leaf season, people wanted leaves off their yards and off the streets. And if they're not moved from the streets or off the yard, the commissioners will have all the trouble. That's all. Oh, by the way, there is a noise ordinance, so you know that contractors can't start working at 7 till 7 a.m., and they have to be done by 7 p.m., just so you know that. What's that? Yours? Every day? Sundays you're not supposed to run anything mechanical. So if you people are cutting your grass, you could actually be told by the police officers to stop working. But there's no police officers breaking up.
But you're not a contractor, so it's not really relevant.
Hi, Diana Pope. I'm on Windermere Avenue. So no one else seems to live in an apartment. I live in an apartment. And so I get to hear the leaf blower that the owner of my complex hires, the yard crew, the apartment building next to me, the middle school, and then the people that live down on Windermere Avenue. So I actually hear leaf blowers easily 5 days a week. I really like the idea of education. I think I can tell from what I'm hearing from people, there's a lot that people can learn about noise and other issues related to leaf blowers. I did research with peer-reviewed published papers related to sound and the effect it has on us. And whether or not it bothers you, it's affecting you. It actually is. It's raising your blood pressure, and there are all kinds of ways we're protected from environmental noise related to airports and related to highways, because it's been known for years and years and years that noise has a negative impact on us. So just be aware of that. Whether it bothers you or not, it's actually having a real effect. So anyway, thank you for your presentation. I don't think Radnor is ready for this, quite frankly, but I do think there's potential if people learn more. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Robin Mann. I live on Beechwood Drive, 7th Ward. I will just note I'm a Sierra Club member, and the Sierra Club has a national policy on this, having done a lot of analysis of the impacts on the natural environment and on humans of gas-powered lawn equipment. So they have a policy that calls for phasing out gas-powered lawn equipment over time. The policy, which I'll be submitting to the commissioners when I hope they actually introduce a measure for Radnor, it does reference both studies on air quality and also on noise pollution. So those will be added references for consideration. And then I'll just note that I'm a resident on Beechwood Drive. I'm surrounded by properties with large expanses and of lawn. And one of the things that I think Radnor residents can be encouraged to do is to really naturalize more of their landscape, reduce the amount of lawn they have for the benefit of the ecosystem and for themselves. Bring back more of the natural world that we've just keep distancing. And for me personally, I'll just mention, I hope that my fellow residents in Radnor can think a little bit more about the vulnerability of, our most vulnerable residents. You make fun of a child trying to nap, but that's something for people to be concerned about, our neighbors' little kids. I actually have a little bit of a health impact from fumes. And as I mentioned, I live with these large properties around me, and when they're leaf blowing it turns out to be hours, and I go outside, it impacts me personally, physically. So let's not dismiss, and I have a mild situation, let's not dismiss our fellow residents' health impacts that they're dealing with as a result of lists. I hope we can all just be sensitive to the needs of our fellow residents. Thank you.
I guess it's on. Okay, it's on. Bob Conklin, I live on South Ithan, Ward 4, our commissioner left. This is part of a public process that the commissioners have to do. They've already made their decision, however. They just have to go through this formality. This-
cannot. Wait, no, absolutely
they've
not.
al-
No, excuse me.
Wait a minute.
Well, I'm speaking, so you know what? I'm telling you, you are misstating.
You're going to override me.
You are misstating what the commissioners are doing. I'm glad to take it up when you're done, but when you're saying something that is not true, I cannot let it go.
I guarantee you, it's already been decided. That's why they've done the studies. It's a little pinprick, just a little pinprick. And then the next one will come with hedge trimmers or weed eaters. And in 10 years, they'll do away with gas-powered mowers. And then 15 years, you have to have an electric car. It's how it starts. One little part, and then another little part, and another little part. And there you go, my opinion.
All right, now it's my turn, and I'm going to say that is
excuse me.
Excuse me. It is absolutely incorrect. What you are saying, what you're accusing me of, whether you like it or not, or will admit it or not, is that I dragged you all out here just to let you blow off steam and not take into consideration what you have to say. That is false.
My name is Steve Ryan. I live on Luella Avenue. Thank you for putting the presentation together. If you don't mind me saying, many of the facts that were presented were extrapolations. If you really go through the notes in this PM 2.5, I never heard any specific reference to a study on workers and what the impact is of these gas blowers or machines. I appreciate the good doctor bringing up that OSHA study. The net of it is, and I agree with the lady who lives down the street, we're not ready for this yet. No homework has been done on this. If you don't mind me saying, I think you offered some great personal opinions, but there were few facts that would get me, if I were a commissioner, to vote one way or another, because we need to study it. I think Burke referenced technology. Has anyone called Still or Echo and asked them what features they have coming out or could be purchased to reduce the noise or the pollution? I also agree with some of the comments about, well, if this is a pinprick, I have a great neighbor, and that doggone generator goes off 3-4 times a week. Okay? Have I said something to him? Yes, I asked him to schedule it at some other time except for 7 o'clock in the morning. So my question to you all, including the commissioners, is why is this proposal all or nothing? Why can't we work as good citizens, and instead of changing 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., let's figure out 9 to 12 and then 2 to 5 and put some flexibility in the process so all parties win on this. The other thing I have not heard is any reasonable proposal that will replace the gas blowers. I'm sorry, but mulching leaves doesn't work. Everyone, I believe, in Radnor who has a nice lawn wants to see the grass. The neighbors want to see the grass. Home Depot and Lowe's sell landscaping, flowers and everything to make your properties look nice. By the way, it helps with your tax base and your value of your home. So I would just ask us to slow down, do some studying, and I would also highly recommend that you put on this commission or this committee a professional landscaper who can offer some sentiment of an individual whose livelihood is impacted on this. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Donald Strumpf. I'm over on Yorkshire Road. I think the real problem, as was pointed out, is the two-stroke engines. And I just want to point out one feature about that. For any of you who ride motorcycles, you would know that it is illegal to ride a two-stroke motorcycle on public roads in the entire state of Pennsylvania. So the state of Pennsylvania has taken at issue with two-stroke engines. That's it.
Unfortunately, they don't have gas-powered. My name is Michael Homans. I live on East Beach Tree Lane. Number one, I want to say, look, this is great to see the Radnor turnout. I appreciate the process from the council and from the committee. And I guess I would caution us against going down the road of national politics where, you know, people are acting like the other side's insane and condemning them and mocking them, which is kind of what I've heard tonight, and I don't expect that in a Radnor forum. So let's all speak with some respect for each other, and we each have the right to have an opinion. We are a democracy. There's no kings here. We can vote as we want. We've elected our representatives, and they're going to decide. We've been presented with, and I disagree, there's no science. There is science. This is dangerous to the health. If you would like 15 cars to be parked around your lot for an hour instead of a leaf blower, where you're going to get the same amount of these particulates, and there are plenty of studies on that. I wouldn't want that. Therefore, I also don't want a gas-powered leaf blower blowing next door to me or in my neighborhood for an hour at a time. You know, and we act like this is like some basic thing we all must have. I do agree. I like the idea of amending the legislation if someone's got a large lot, or if we can get, if the four-stroke gas blowers are that much cleaner, maybe and quieter, we consider those. But this is a health hazard, and it is a noise hazard. You know, Radnor commissioners should be about quality of life for the majority of the residents. And just because some people might be discomforted or might have to pay less, if the vast majority, and vast majority of us live in smaller lots in Wayne, are going to have their lives improved by this ordinance, I'm all in favor of that. And look, we could kill every piece of legislation if you said, well, what about this next? What about this next? Well, they're not proposing anything else. You can fight that battle when it comes. This is one thing of a highly polluting, extremely loud, unnecessary thing. There are plenty of alternatives, as was pointed out. You know, when I grew up as a boy, nobody's out there with these super loud, super powerful gas powered leaf blowers. We raked our lawns, you know, or we just mowed the leaves into the grass. It is not a necessity. Cars, I have to say, are kind of a necessity for most of our lives. But gas leaf blowers are not. So I'm open to some regulation on that. And we can't make the good the enemy of the perfect. I think, you know, we have to hope that our council can come up with the best legislation possible, considering all the inputs, considering the impact it could have on the landscapers, but try to improve the situation versus what is pretty intolerable. I share what this gentleman said. You know, it's tough to be around in the fall. What once used to be a beautiful fall day is now just, and don't tell me it's not safe. You talk about OSHA. Why do you think those guys are wearing the head covers? Because OSHA requires it, because they know it would damage their hearing if they didn't wear those things. It is extremely loud, and louder than most of the rest of life. And even cars aren't nearly as loud as these. You know, if the technology is going to improve gas-powered leaf blowers, it's going to improve the electric leaf blowers. So things will get better. They'll get more affordable. The electric cars now, in many respects, are superior to the gas cars. You can accelerate. Yeah, have you driven a Tesla, sir? It's much more powerful and accelerates a lot better than most any gas car you're going to get, and it doesn't pollute. And there are ways to buy less polluting electricity sources, if that's the concern. So that's it. I mean, I'm all in favor of improving the quality of life, but respecting everybody's opinion and vote. And I thank the commission and the committee for allowing us to express our opinions. Thanks.
Hello? Okay. Hi, my name is Clark Engel. I live at 346 Conestoga Road. I'm not in favor of banning the leaf blowers. I have about an acre property. I have about 30 mature trees. There's no way that I can remove the leaves without a gas backpack-powered leaf blower. If if they are banned, I'm simply just going to let the leaves sit there. I've tried mulching. As somebody mentioned before, that just creates a carpet and suffocates the grass and ends up killing my grass. I'll just end up letting them sit there and blow away onto my neighbor's property who can afford a landscaper, which I can't. I would like to say though that so all of I did a bunch of research before I came here about the minimal effect of pollution that gas leaf blowers have compared to cars, transportation, power generation, and all that other stuff. It's I think you mentioned like 0.05% of the carbon dioxide that's put into the air. I'm not going to go through the research that I did because I'm just going to be regurgitating facts that everybody else already made. But, I'm not in favor of nanny state type government, and that's what this feels like. The noise is a matter of opinion. If you want to use a gas backpack blower and expose yourself to those emissions, that's your choice. We all can take whatever risks we want to take, like smoking or drinking or whatever we do in life. One of my biggest concerns was that Mike sent me a text with a link to the Radnor Patch news about this just a few days ago. I had no idea this was going on. This has a major impact on a lot of people in terms of either their landscaper cost is going to go up, or they're going to be extremely inconvenienced by the fact that it's going to take them 10 times longer to do their job on their landscaping. So if you're going to do something like this, I think you need to put out a lot more, it needs to be communicated more broadly, wider, like how about an email to all residents, or a mailer go out to all residents announcing that there's going to be a town hall, and if you're going to put out publication, a publication along with that with information about the harmful effects, put out something from both sides. Ask somebody here who's pro leaf blower, who's in the industry, who's done a lot of research, to put out a bullet point fact sheet on that goes against everything you just said, so that people can show up to a town hall, all the residents know about it, and we can have more public debate with more people knowing about it. This feels like it's being done under the cover of darkness and going to be slipped through at an 11th hour vote, like the gentleman over here just said.
Well, there's another town hall on April 26th.
Yeah, and again, I wouldn't know about it if my friend didn't send me an email with a link to the Radnor Patch. Who looks at the Radnor Patch? I mean,
everybody.
Good for you. If you have time to do that, great.
Excuse me. The notice was sent to all of your commissioners. I believe they've posted them on their, excuse me? I believe they've posted them. I don't know what their communication style is. I sent emails with the notice to all the constituents I have, that I have their email addresses, notifying that there is this April 7th, and foreseeing that this would be a large impact on the community, scheduling a second one for April 26th. So that seems to be happening.
Sorry, but if I can get 4 text messages and 4 voicemails when the schools are going to be closed because of snow, I think that something similar can go out about a town hall banning leaf blowers. If the technology is there to announce a school closure, the technology is there to announce something like this.
Let me just make this clear. Let me just make this clear, because I do not do the communications so I can understand what you're saying and then communicate it to the people that do the communications here. You would like to receive a text message? So you want to give us your cell phone number? No. No, I'm asking, do you want text messages, is what I'm asking you? About something like this? I don't know, I'm hoping that people in the 3rd Ward, because that's, who I represent, as many as possible, learn through, literally direct communication through their emails. I am disappointed if people did not learn about it from any other source. I am disappointed about that, I have to say. So I'll dig into it, but also please note that there is another one on April 26th.
Maybe I misheard you. I thought you said the next meeting's the 26th. I thought it was the 23rd.
I'm sorry, you're right, April 23rd. Wait a minute, it's the
23rd.
Thursday.
And neither meeting was on the township webpage calendar.
Yeah, I did get notice through the township. You know, you can go on there and you can sign up for every committee's emails and you get those, yeah.
I'm sorry, April 23rd. Yeah.
Exactly.
April, you are correct, I'm sorry, April 23rd. Yes,
I heard about this because every once in a while I watch the commissioner meeting
right.
on the YouTube channel, but I don't watch it all the time.
You're not glued to it? Are you serious? No, I'm kidding. You're not glued to that? How hooked onto it? So you heard about it because we announced. I was going to ask. I was wondering. I appreciate your watching the meetings. And then I don't know how you heard that it was the 7th and the 26th. No, the 3rd, but.
Passed a motion where everybody raised their hand, there wasn't even 1%. What would the fine be?
I don't know. We don't have any, this literally. Well, I do not know what it is in Lower Merion. Again, contrary to some beliefs, this is not a foregone conclusion. This really is, we want to hear what you have to say, what your ideas are, whether to go forward or not go forward or have something modified. As I said to you, I heard about it when I was going door to door when I ran for commissioner. So for me, this is coincidental that the EAC was studying it. I was like, well, I heard it from people, when I went door to door. The EAC has been studying it. Other townships have also been studying it. So this is really, we are in, whether you like it or not, or believe it or not, a fact-gathering status at the moment. And if we did not have this town hall and probably the next town hall, I would have no idea, nor would other people have any idea as to what people thought about it. I am not in favor of just passing ordinances like that and telling people how to live. I don't think my other commissioners are either, and that's why there's a town hall.
I can wait. Hi, I'm Mary Kay McPherson. I live on 754 Applegate Lane. It's not on. I thought it was. Hello? Oh, whoa. Hi, Mary Kay McPherson, 754 Applegate Lane in Rosemont. So I live on a parcel of land. It's about an acre. I have 2 other acres I manage. And I'm in an area that gets a lot of, I'd say, contractors supporting the garden or the lawn use. And I think regardless of if you're in a small lot in an apartment or in a large lot, the sound will carry as far as it carries. It carries probably the same amount depending on how many buildings are in the way. I'll let the science speak to how lack of health-oriented or health-oriented it is. I find the noise from 7 to 8 surrounding neighbors horrific. I'm sorry to be pretentious. I just really don't care for it, and it really does go on for days and days, it seems. I do see them blow 3 leaves 20 feet to the street. I also see them blowing it to the other side of the street. And I don't think that's useful as a community approach. So I'm generally for something happening. I'm not clear that there is, I'm not clear about what the science is and what the information is out there. It's a little weak in my mind, and this is the first I heard of it. I too stumbled upon this in a patch I never look at, so a Radnor patch announcement. So I really would like to see more information as well as collaboration in understanding how we can address the issues without injuring undue people. Yes, I could commiserate with the gentleman who spoke of trash being dropped in his yard. I'm assuming it's a neighborhood teenager dropping beer cans in my yard every day on the way to the bus stop. So it's just, there's a lot of different things that people have to consider and different constraints that they have in what they're dealing with. But I for one, would like to see something happen. in the direction of reducing the noise and the health issues, given there is science to support that. But I also know there is a lot of considerations to consider the contractors, people who make a living doing this, how is that going to affect them? So I'd like to come together as a community and really find a good solution for whoever we can handle this for. Thank you.
I don't know if I'm overgeneralizing, but it seems like some of the people that are for it live on smaller parcels and are.
Can you state your name and address?
I'm sorry, Lynn LaFiandra. I live on Woodley Road. It seems like some of the people that are for it, maybe not all, I don't know, live on smaller parcels. The houses are presumably closer together. The impact is probably greater, right? Because the noise is more concentrated. The fumes are probably more concentrated. They're all much more tightly packed versus the homes that are on 1 acre and they're spread out and maybe it's less of an impact. So those homes have greater impact, but also probably have an easier implementation for something like, if you do consider electric, it's easier because the backpack or whatever you have for the electric blower, the battery might last for the entire time because your lawn might not be that big, compared to like an acre lawn. So my question for you is, if they do push, if this does move in any direction in the forward range, can it be by ward? Because it did, the gentleman over here raised it, and it seems a little bit like it makes sense that people who are in wards where the properties are smaller might have a better, have more of an impact, but also a better benefit versus the people who are in more sprawled out areas.
Well, the person who usually sits here is the township solicitor, who would have an answer to that question. I do not know. Usually ordinances, like any kind of rule, has to apply to the whole area. I don't know that you can differentiate. I don't know that you can't, but I will certainly ask him. And I understand what you're saying.
Are we on here? I'm Tim Lowry from South Wayne Avenue. To your point about wards, it might even make more sense to apply it to the size of the parcel. So somebody that has, say, at least an acre may have some, some forgiveness in there. So, and the question I had earlier, Kathy, is there a date scheduled for when the board would potentially vote on this?
No.
No?
Okay. There is not a final ordinance that's been drafted or anything like that. So the usual procedure is, it has to be advertised, then it's 2 more weeks, and then another 2 weeks, and then there would be a vote. So it's not looming for this fall, if I have anything to do about it. If it does move forward, it has to with the process, but I don't look for it on the horizon.
And my final comment would be that, it seems like we have an opportunity, given that we have our neighbor, Lower Merion, that has implemented this, that, if we were to table this, we might be able to learn a lot from how they're impacted and the unintended consequences of what their township might face. So I think that's something we should, take into serious consideration.
I think that's, when they're our petri dish, when they kind of are, it makes sense to, and then, there is well, why should we have to wait? There are all things that we have to weigh out, like why do we have to wait to see what they do? Why can't we be leaders? Well, listen, they're willing to jump in the pool, let's see how deep it is. So it's, it's both sides.
Very briefly, something I forgot to mention, something that is almost ubiquitous, but we've never mentioned, is almost never one leaf blower. When I see them at the township, I thought I had it up.
Could you pass that? Thank you. Is it on?
Just hold it closer, sorry. I have seen literally as many as 6 together in a line. I just happened to be at the Radnor Trail parking lot on Conestoga Road and couldn't believe the sound, and turned and I saw a crew, 6 at one time. Usually there are 2. So that's something to consider in terms of the sound, and just something to consider. when we're talking about leaf blowers is not necessarily just one. Thank you.
If I can, I'm sorry for saying two things. Ken Lafayette on Woodley Road. I don't know. I know
I'm sorry, your name again? I'm sorry.
Ken Lafayette on Woodley Road. I see there's one fellow attorney here. All of this is, I don't know how many others attorneys are in here, just some information as to this whole process. All of this is very interesting, but it's the constitutionality that matters. And right now, my background, I'm a litigator for 36 years, worked at the EPA. I represented most of the townships around here, defending them, defending their constitutionality on their ordinances. My assessment, based on what you've said so far, and I'm going to read your proposal, I'd like to request the solicitor to be here at the next meeting because I have some pointed questions for him. But right now, I'm not seeing what enabling legislation gives you this power. If it's environmental, I'm looking at preemption by the federal courts, by the EPA and OSHA on the regulations. Same thing with the noise. Noise, it's great, the science. The question is, will it come into a courtroom under the Daubert test, which is our junk science test, if this science that you've given holds up? I'm not seeing that right now. It's right now more of an amateur show. And if that's true, you're looking at the barrel of litigation on this. And then they will sort out all of these issues with the court. All of this will be very expensive. Radnor hates when these litigations happen. I know, I've been in it, on the defensive. And I've talked to, I worked with Rice, I don't know if he's still there. It gets ugly, especially if you get a class action of a group of people involved in this. So I'd like the solicitor to be here. I'd like
I don't
him
think
to.
there's enough numerosity, so I don't think there'll be a class action. Just saying, just saying. So next.
Okay, great.
Go ahead.
Your opinion is that there won't be any litigation.
No, I didn't say there wouldn't be litigation. I said there wouldn't be a class action because of numerosity.
Okay, great. I'd like the solicitor to be here. I'd like him to explain some of the legal aspects of this so that we can get beyond the amateur hour and guessing on science and guessing on what authorities they have and guessing what the purpose is, if it's noise, if it's health benefits, or whatever. And I'd like the specific legislation that enables you to do this. Otherwise, you're looking at it, getting it struck down.
Is that it? No more questions? Thank you. Thank you for coming and your input.
Could you send me whatever your research is? That's my name, that's my email.
I'll send you this paper. This is my proposal. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. All right?
Yeah, appreciate that.
Got a
Thanks very
bunch of-
much.
All right. Now, you said something. Your name again?
Chandler.
Okay. You said something, and it was very interesting, and I just wanted to make sure I completed my understanding. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
I appreciate that you showed up in a regular shirt. We need a bulletproof vest.
No.
Donald Strumpf, how are you?
Dan Burton. No, I know this is not going to be a slam dunk thing. It's a paradigm shift if you do embrace what I'm saying, and it's hard. It's bloody hard.
You're preaching to the choir.
Handwriting.
Okay. All right.
It's KLAFIANDRA@comcast.net.
DRA.
Since you've been involved in litigation,
Thank you.
you might want to look at that kind of a model on.
I
And
saw
they do
some.
cite the Pennsylvania statutes.
Right, I saw the Pennsylvania
Do you have a
statute.
card?
Not
Yeah,
for
yeah.
my company. I'm not in private practice. I'm general counsel.
Okay.
local companies. I was in private practice
Yeah, oh, yeah,
35
yeah,
years.
yeah, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I represented all of the townships, Upper Providence, Lower Providence, Marion, and I fought off all the cell phone tower lawsuits. I mean, there we had a rock-solid statute that specifically identified all the science and said, no, there's not going to be radiation, there's not going to be, and that's how, it's the only way they survived. And I would offer townships model regulations that allowed them to constitutionally enact legislation to put up cell towers. And it was very popular. I lectured at the Pennsylvania Association of Township Supervisors many years after that. That's all in my past, but I keep all this in the back of my mind. I think it's going to be a lawsuit. If it's not me, it's going to be someone else, because this is not, if I don't see some other constitutional grounds for this, you don't have the power. Noise, pollution, it's got to be one of these, or some sort of base, or maybe you have a base on all of these, but pollution, the EPA and OSHA fills up this area of law and says this is our understanding of it. I don't see this on a national level. That's why I